Hi there, this is Shauna from the Foil Fox, and I'm here on our YouTube channel, and I'm sharing Framed in Florals. It's a brand new stamp and die set by Paper Tray Ink and Ink to Paper, and it has these two panels that go with it. It has these strips of wonderful flowers, and then it has some sentiments, and it has all the flowers that you can stamp, or you can also watercolor them or color them with Copic markers. And then it has the matching die set. And then I'm going to be also using Pleasing Envelopes special delivery, and it has a big beautiful banner in it, and that's what I'm really after. But it also has some great flowers and sentiments, so it's perfect just on its own. And then it has the matching die set that's going to help cut out that banner for me. And then I'm going to be using one other thing that is brand new. This is from My Favorite Things. It is the basket weave stencil, and you'll see how I'll use that a little bit later. So to get started, I'm going to be using a piece of white cardstock for the banner, a piece of hot press watercolor paper for my flowers, a piece of pale rose for the background, and then a white card base. So to get started, I'm going to take the banner and I'm going to cut that out of the white cardstock, and then I'm going to take the hot press paper. You could use cold press here if you'd like, and I'm going to cut those out. Now you see they're all cut out, and I'm going to very carefully take off the foam tape. I am going to use the negative and the positive, so I don't want to throw anything away or destroy it. And you'll see what I mean, why I want to do that. So I'm just carefully taking that off. Now with them already, I'm going to take my stamp positioner, take a tape runner, which is repositionable, meaning that it's kind of temporary. It will get permanent if I leave it in there too long, but I have plenty of time to use it temporarily to do my stamping. You've probably seen me do this before, but I love doing this technique because it gives me perfect placement. And that's really important with these flowers because you don't want to cut off anything, and I'm notorious for doing that. So I don't want to do that. And this way I can get them I can take my time and position them just perfectly over these cutouts, and then stick them to the door. And so they're all set in perfect place. I'm using VersaFine Black Onyx ink, which is a waterproof ink. I want to do that because I'm going to be doing some watercoloring. So, and I love this ink. It is a very dark, it's very black and intense, and it gives you a very fine line. So it's perfect for this kind of thing. It has beautiful coverage. You can see I just need to press it down one more time, and that's just perfect. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing to the banner. I'm going to put the repositionable tape on there. This is like a little micro dot. You can see all of these things in the supply list. You can click on the link down below. And I'm going to put the positive piece right in place. Put the stamp over the top and making sure that's positioned perfectly. It's on the door now, stuck to the door. And I'm inking it up with the same VersaFine Black Onyx ink. And that's going to give me a really, really nice impression. Now with that impression all done, I'm going to take the sentiment. There is thanks and with love that is in the included in the stamp set for the framed florals. I chose the with love and positioned it the way I wanted it, and now I'm going to use again the VersaFine Black Onyx ink and stamp that. With those done, I'm going to set aside the banner, and I'm going to concentrate on these little floral pieces. As I mentioned to you, you can use the accompanying stamps to stamp it and put the color in that way. I thought it would be easier if I just watercolored, and I love to watercolor. This way I don't have to take each individual stamp out and color it, and it's so easy. There's just little pieces in here, so it's super easy. You don't have to know anything about watercoloring to make this work. I'm using Altenew pan colors because it's just a set that has some really nice colors. The colors are all curated, and they're right there. I don't have to go hunting for any, and so it works out very nicely. But again, you can use Copic markers, you can use colored pencils, you can use inks, anything. You can use inks as watercolor. Just smush them onto your work surface. You've seen me do that plenty of times. But I'm using some of the pinks and some of the oranges and yellows, and just kind of making some different coloring these flowers. You have to kind of talk to yourself a little bit of where the flower begins and ends, but I don't know that it matters a whole lot as long as you get the general gist of it. So I'm using, again, I've used as a little corally color and then a yellow color, and now I'm going back to a lighter pink with a brown or a kind of black center to it. Add a little bit of brown, a little bit of black, and then intensify the colors here. And I'm going to be using the greens as well. These are the little berries that I'm going to use pink and a darker red, and then going on to the leaves with using the green and the darker green. And then there's another shape of a leaf that I'm going to make a little bit more bluish, just so I can distinguish between the two. But I'm using a lighter green and a darker green here just to give it a little bit of shading. And now I'm going to still use a little bit of that lighter green, but then I'm going to use a little bit of this kind of tealish color. I like to add those in. I like to, first of all, have a little blue in everything that I do. I think it just really adds to it. But it also adds to the interest of these leaves when they're not all the same color. So I'm just gonna, this is really easy coloring, and there's not much to it. It doesn't take very long at all to do this if you want to do the watercoloring. And like I say, you don't have to be an expert at watercoloring. It just is a little dabble here and there. So we're just kind of use the same color palette as I used before. So this one's going to be more corally, so it has the orange, yellows, and a little bit of pink mixed into it. I really like it when it's a yellow flower with a little bit of pink, or the other way around. So I often add those. I also like to use the same kind of colors so they all kind of pull together. Make our pink and darker red there. And then on to a little bit lighter pink. I tried to make it lighter pink, but in the end it didn't end up as light as I thought it might. But you can make it any way that you like. And you can just interpret this any way you like. These look kind of like little ferny pieces, so I made those really dark green. And then when I get to the to the leaves, I'm going to color the leaves exactly the same as I did before. These shaped leaves, I'm going to be making the ones that have the kind of more roundy shape to them. I'm going to use the little bit of the teal in it, and the ones that are a little bit more pointy, I'm putting the green in. That's how I'm kind of distinguishing between these. And soon I'm going to be done with all this coloring. It really doesn't take very long at all if you want to do a little watercolor. So here it is all done, and it's dry. And then you see that our banner is there. Now I'm going to work on the background. I've trimmed down this piece of pale rose, which is a beautiful light pink, and I've trimmed it down to 4 3/4 by 5 1/4. I know it's kind of an odd size, but I wanted it almost square. I'm taking a little bit of sponge sugar, distress ink. I'm very lightly adding that in. You'll see that it slowly starts to get some pink to it. And every so often I'm going to put the banner and the flowers back just so I make sure I have the right placement for my colors. Now I'm going to go on to worn lipstick, and I'm going to do this again. You're going to see me do this lots of times, but in the center I'm going to be adding more color because I want behind the banner to have a more intense color. And so I'm adding just a little bits more, just making it more and more intense each time. And then I am going to go on, I think, to the picked raspberry. I have these 3 colors, or 4 colors, excuse me. Um, they're they're a very nice grouping, and I like them a lot. But I think that I'm going to make that so that center a little bit redder, kind of a red pink. So I'm going to add some of the festive berry. So I'm going to position this again, just because I want to always check um, to make sure that it's working right, that it's in the right position, and so I want that to be really intense there. Now I think I got it the way I wanted. I've smushed some of the festive berry and the picked raspberry, and I'm just loosening it up with a little bit of water with a small brush, and I'm splattering some. Now I'm going to take my bleed proof white, but that's a mouthful, and I'm taking my Starbucks stir stick and just splattering this on. You've seen me do this lots of times. I really like using this. I'm also going to add in a little bit of my Sumi ink, and add just a tiny little black splatters, not too many of them. I really like the Sumi ink, as you know, because it's really dark. It just gives really beautiful black splatters to it. And with that all done, I cleaned up my surface. Now I'm going to take that stencil. Now I could have done this in the very beginning, and you certainly can, before you even add any of your colors. But it is so light, and I'm just really adding it to those sides there, that it works out perfectly this way. And I'm not adding any more ink to that brush I used. This is the same one I used to add the color, and there's enough ink on there. Then I want it to be quite light. I just want it to be subtle, just to give it a little bit of interest. So that's that. Now my background is all done. I'm going to just, now that it's dry too, be sure to wait till it's dry. And then I'm going to use some double stick tape. I'm going to stick it down to my card base. It's exactly the same size as the front of my card base. So there that is. Now I've put some foam tape on the back of these pieces. I'm going to put a double piece, so it's doubly thick on the banner, because I want it to stick up a little bit higher. And now I'm just going to see if that's in the right position. Again, I want a little bit of that pink peeking out behind the banner. So I just want that spacing to be just right. And it's not quite center, slightly above. That seems to look better. If you put it right in the center, it looks a little heavy, as if optically it looks like it's a little low when it really isn't. So just do it a little bit above that. So I'm just going to stick that down. And now our sweet card is nearly done. I have these tiny little sparklies that I wanted to add on here. You could use sequin, or you leave it off all together. Now it had little stickums on the back of them, but I could never get it up that way, so I'm just going to use a little quickie pen here. These are wonderful for these little tiny things. The glue goes on blue, so you know exactly where that little dot is. It holds it really well, but it's a little bit of it's just a pen point, and that makes it just perfect. So I'm just going to stick a few of these little sparklies around, and using this little quickie pen, glue pen. It's one of my favorite tools. Just a simple one. And then stick that down. My last one, I think. Maybe I'll add one more up there. You know, you could never know just how many you should have. Anyway, here it is all done. And I just think this is very sweet. And what a lovely card to give somebody special in your life. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We would love that. And then you can see here's a list of a few of the items that we used. But you can click the link down below and that will take you to our blog. And you'll see all of the supplies that we used, every one of them. And lots more inspiration. Thanks so much for joining me. And I'll see you next time. Bye.